I go straight from the bank, gassing up the tank, cranking up the radio, playing old Hank. It ain't that long till I'm back at the pond.
Yeah, last time I was on, I had a beard. I learned something since then. Beware of stealth hiccups when you're trimming your beard. Yeah, it was an attractive gap. So I just shaved the whole thing off. Anyway, I'm Bill Garner. This is the Empty Nest Bar and Grill. And we're going to talk a little bit today about visits with your grandparents. I'll guarantee you my visits with my grandparents were a little different from your visits with your grandparents. Sit back, get ready to have a laugh, and remember what it's like to be a kid.
I'm pulling up the truck down at the dock. It's time to do some cruising, baby. Get a little stuck. It's a Saturday joyride.
Okay, so here's the scoop. Apparently the boy had been wearing his mom and dad out. I mean, you know, he got kicked out of a kindergarten, dragged the man across the country club, damn near killed him. And it's been a tough year, and it's been really tough on mom. And so dad decides to send the boy down to stay with his parents for a little while. They live in a little town in Mississippi, and the idea is that it'll give mom a break. Well, the grandparents got no idea what to do with this boy, and this is the story about what they came up with. So get back, get you a glass of wine, put your feet up, get ready to really have a nice laugh. Talk to you soon.
We're on a boat, we're feeling fine. Drinking Tennessee whiskey, a big blue sky, we're going up.
We rode out to Arca Butler Reservoir in the sheriff's car. I rode in the back with the beer and stuff. We had the poles tied up on the side of the car just above the doors on the passenger side. All the windows were down, and the wind blew real hard because the sheriff gets to drive as fast as he wants to. He didn't put the lights and the siren on, but he sure covered some ground. He and Uncle Harry had a couple of beers, and we all listened to country music as we drove out to the reservoir. We drove past this big old concrete dam, and then went down a road that brought us to where the Coldwater River came out over the spillway. I could see the water just gushing out over that spillway. There was a fog or a mist rising off the foamy, crashing water. Right under the spillway, the water was all churned up and was splashing all over the place. The water was moving really fast down the river. I made a mental note not to fall in. This, I thought, was no place to go swimming. We stopped the car, and everyone helped get set up to fish. The sheriff got his throwdown gun out from under the seat just in case we saw a snake we could shoot. I carried some folding chairs and all the other stuff to our spot while Uncle Harry and the sheriff got the hooks baited. We used some blood bait the sheriff had brought. He said it was super good bait. One of his convicts had made it for him. I looked at the sheriff. I was wondering which convict had made the bait and which convict had given up the blood. We got the lines in the water and got comfortable in the folding chairs. The current pulled the lines taut, and the poles bent back and forth real wild under the strain for just a minute, but directly they settled down to just a little wave back and forth every now and then. The sheriff opened another beer and looked over at me. He said, "Boy," I don't think he knew my name, "tell me about all this trouble you got back home." I thought, oh damn, here we go again. I thought he was going to laugh at me too. I told him and Uncle Harry the whole story about the ghosts and about Mr. Quarles and his massive coronary. The sheriff listened real close, and he and Uncle Harry both interrupted me every now and then with a question or two. The sheriff asked me why we had tried to save Miss Catherine, and I told him that we had to save her. We couldn't just let those ghosts eat her. So even though she beat you every day? Asked the sheriff. I said that didn't matter none, I said. She'd come to rescue us, and we thought the ghost had set in on her, and we had to save her. Uncle Harry wanted to know why we didn't just run off and leave Mr. Quarles out there on the green. I told him Mr. Quarles would have helped us if we had needed it, so we owed it to him to help him in his time of need. When I finished telling them and they quit asking questions, the sheriff, who hadn't laughed at all, turned to Uncle Harry and said, "Harry, you know what I think? I think it takes a hell of a brave boy to charge back into certain death to save a woman who's been beating the hell out of him with a stick every day from a pack of ghosts." I said, "Sheriff, There weren't really any ghosts. Boy, the sheriff said, you didn't know that then, now did you? No, sir, we thought she was getting eaten alive. The sheriff took a long drink of beer and swatted a mosquito. He nodded at Uncle Harry. He lit a cigar and tossed me one. And, he continued, you knew you was going to get in trouble about being in that pond when you saved Mr. Quarles, didn't you? Yes, sir, I said, but Mr. Quarles, he wasn't really hurt until we tried to save him. Well, once again, the sheriff said, but you didn't know that then, now did you? I said, no, sir. Harry, this boy is not only brave, but he's got character and integrity. He's been trying to do the right thing, but it just seems to go in the crapper on him all the time, the sheriff said. That's a rare thing with this worthless bunch of liberal brats that we've produced as the next generation of this fine country. The sheriff continued explaining why the country was doomed to fall to communists, Yankees, and long-haired hippies for about 10 or 15 minutes. Finally, he said, boy, I'm going to hire you. You're going to be one of my deputies. It pays 25 cents a day. Do I get a badge and a gun, I asked. No, he said, as he leaned over to light my cigar. I looked over at Uncle Harry. Uncle Harry said, boy, you got to puff that thing or it'll go out and the mosquitoes will carry you off. Well, I had a job. I was a deputy. No badge, no gun, but I had a cigar, and I was a for real, sure enough, deputy sheriff. The sheriff said I was to come down to the jailhouse every day and help out with the prisoners. They weren't convicts, he said. Convicts he sent down to Parchment Farm, and they had to wear striped outfits and work on the chain gang. The prisoners that he had were mostly good old boys that had just got sideways with the law. There weren't going to be any bank robbers in the jail. I was a little disappointed, but I didn't let on. I heard the sheriff whisper to Uncle Harry, I'll bet you $1,000 he can't find no trouble to get in at the jailhouse.
There's a party on the water, it's a hell of a time. We're on the boat, we're killing time. In our own honky-tonk with a bottle of wine, we're going up.
Okay, so here's the backstory. I actually did spend a fair amount of time at my grandparents'. A couple of summers, actually. One summer in particular, I was down there. My horse had thrown me. I had a Tennessee Walker and a quarter horse. The Tennessee Walker's name was Ginger, and she was real jumpy. You know, walkers are sometimes. And my brother and I were riding Ginger, and we went under a limb. And when my brother leaned forward, he hit the horse in the flanks with his heels pretty good, which caused Ginger to buck us off. And I hit a tree, and that's how I hurt my back. And Matt hit the ground. He hit the ground like a sack of potatoes. Uncle Randy goes running over to him and says, boy, are you hurt? And Matt says, yeah, I'm hurt. And Uncle Randy says, well, where are you hurt? Matt says, I don't know, but I'm hurt somewhere. So it was a lot of fun. So the jailhouse, I never made it over to the jailhouse. I wasn't a deputy sheriff. All that's figments of my imagination. I did meet the sheriff because he and Papa were good friends. I did spend a lot of time with my Uncle Randy. Uncle Randy is responsible for a lot of firsts in my life that were a lot of fun. He was the uncle everybody wishes that they had. He let me fire a shotgun for the first time. Whenever I was down there, he'd always take me to the place and would ride the horses. He took me up and showed me all over the place. The place is a 40-acre farm we have down in Mississippi. If I was there in the fall, he'd take me to the high school football games. First time I ever rode on a motorcycle was with Uncle Randy. He had a Camaro. I think it was red, but I'm colorblind, so it could have been anything but white. We'd go riding in that Camaro, and that was a pretty hot-shot car. Had a lot of fun with Uncle Randy. So yeah, did I go to the jail? No. Did my grandparents have any idea what to do with me? No, they didn't, but Uncle Randy did. We had a hell of a time. So that's the backstory to that. I guess the next story we need to tell is about the big bastard. So look forward to telling you that story. And I almost forgot to plug my book again. always forget to do that. But listen, y'all, if you haven't bought the book, go out and get the book. Barnes & Noble has it. Amazon has it. You can get it off my website. You can get it in CDs, a 5 CD set, or you can just go up on Audible and get it. It's a lot of fun. And if you really want to remember what it's like to be a kid, you need the book. This could almost be a manual. Alrighty, talk to y'all next time. And I'm Bill Garner, and you're not.
Drinking Tennessee whiskey, a big blue sky. We're going up, we're coming down.